Hello, folks. Welcome to Counselor's Couch 101. I'm Jim Stump. And people often ask me, how's this supposed to work? In other words, how does counseling work and like that? And one of my favorite descriptions about counseling is, somebody asks the person, says, you're going to counseling, right? And the person says, yeah. And they say, how's that going? They said, I don't know. All we do is sit there and talk. He's not really doing anything for me. I'm thinking of quitting. And then the person says, well, I heard you had a lot of problems a while ago. How's your life going? And the guy going to counseling says, oh, it's going great. Everything's wonderful. And he didn't even realize that it was probably the result of that counseling that helped him turn things around and made him happier in life. Counseling is kind of like different for everybody. It follows that old saying, all roads lead to Rome. That means just start anywhere and we'll get there. The issues that need to come up usually surface all on their own. Just start talking. Everything's connected. It comes out. Oftentimes people walk into counseling. One of my first questions is, have you ever been to counseling before? And if they say yes, I say, what was the experience like? What worked for you? What did not work for you? And like that. I don't want to repeat mistakes, but I do want to do things that were successful for you and like that if they've been to counseling. And other times people say, I've never been in counseling in my life. And I say, well, what do you expect? What do you think it's going to be like? I say, I don't know. I guess I'm supposed to lie down on a couch and start telling you all my secrets, start talking about stuff. I said, well, we don't lie down on a couch, but yeah, talking is the way we go about it, Just start talking anywhere and it comes up. Oftentimes people don't know what their issues are, right? And we find them just by exploring various things that are going on in their life. I remember one lady came in once and asked her, how things were going. She said life was great. She was working in a professional job. She had two sons who were teenagers in high school, and she was liking life and et cetera. Everything's going pretty well. I said, okay, well, why are you here? What can I do for you? And she said, well, that husband of mine. And that opened a Pandora's box of everything. From that first opening statement, I found out the stuff that wasn't working in her relationship, and we were able to trace those back to the source of the discontents that things didn't work. Just start talking anywhere. Like I say, counseling is like a different experience for everyone who walks in the door. Every counseling is focused on the person who's there to work on their issues, right? I had a lot of different responses over time. Along the way, I've run into some people who would talk and talk and talk and talk and not let me get a word in anyway otherwise, right? And then eventually they complained, so I wouldn't do anything for them. I said, well, how could I? You wouldn't let me talk. Counseling is supposed to be a conversation. It's like, let's just start looking at things. Let's view things from whatever perspectives are going to work for you. And let's see where that conversation goes, And if you won't let me talk, how can I help you? I had other people who think that counselors are there to be abused, right? They're supposed to throw all sorts of dirt at you and accuse you of all sorts of things, and you're supposed to take it. And if you say anything at all, I remember one lady I was talking to, and she was doing something similar to that, going on and on and on, complaining. And I said, well, I've noticed you do this particular behavior. I'm just curious. Do you do that? I mean, you're doing that behavior to me inside our conversation, right? I said, I'm wondering, do you do that conversation with other people? Is that why you're having a problem? You know what the lady did? She more or less dropped out of counseling emotionally. She stopped talking about issues, and then I knew it was coming. A few sessions after that, she dropped out, said she was fine. She had accomplished everything she wanted to accomplish, and she was good to go, and I'll call you in the future if I need you. She didn't want to look at her own behavior that was causing her problems in life. But everything that happens in a counseling conversation, in a counseling relationship, is what goes on with the other people in a person's life. So if the person is treating me a particular way in our conversations, I can be assured that she's doing that with other people as well. And it's a question of whether or not they want to look at that and decide whether or not it's working for them or not, right? Previous video, I was talking about anger. People can learn anger as a way of life, as a way of getting what they want out of life. They learn it as a young person. And other people learn other techniques. Usually one of the younger people in a family group will usually turn out to be the comedian, the one who's making all the jokes, because that's the way that person survives. That's the way that person gets heard and has an identity within the group. You got to figure, if a young person in a group, say the youngest of the siblings, they are not going to have the same status or same physical or mental acuity as their older siblings. And of course, they got to figure out some way to survive and prosper among all these bigger people. And when we're little, all the bigger people feel like dinosaurs. So we develop techniques to help us get along and succeed within that environment. Excuse me. We've been having a heat wave here in California. It's dried everybody out, including me. So they develop techniques. They become the comedian. But later on in life, just like using the anger technique, we find out it doesn't necessarily work later on in life. Anger and being the jokester can take you all the way through high school and maybe into college and like that. But when you get out in the job and you get out in the real world and so forth, anger certainly never works there. And humor, being the prankster, being the comedian, often doesn't work there as well. At that point, the person stops and looks at their lives and looks at the way they're behaving and why they behave that way. And they say, maybe I want to change some of that. I want to be just a little bit different because I want a different kind of success in life than I'm getting now. So then we look at those things and we say, okay, I've said this to you here before, but we're creatures of habit, and we don't break habits, we replace them. So we practice the new technique inside the counseling sessions. We just practice stuff, and then slowly but surely, the person goes out into their lives and they practice these techniques. And I tell them, they try the techniques. I say, give yourself permission to fail. It's taken you a long time to learn how to be in the world the way you are in the world. It's going to take you a little bit of time to change the way that you are in the world. And here's another thing. People get used to us. If we're the comedian or the angry person, they get used to that. And when we change our behavior, they don't like that because they learned how to cope with us according to how we were presenting ourselves previously. And they want us to get back into that behavior pattern because they know how to work with it. They know how to get what they need out of the person and the way they used to behave. So they want you to go back to the old behaviors. And sometimes the biggest hurdle we gotta cross is working with the people that are closest to us, getting them to accept us and our new behavior. That's often a real big problem for folks. So, by the way, there's a great many techniques. It's almost like when someone walks through the door of a counselor's office, it's like the counselor is like a primary care physician, right? That person, that professional will look at what's going on with a patient, and then if they need to refer them to a specialist, they will refer them there and let them get service over and beyond what that particular primary care person can provide. With counselors, it's like when they walk in the room, we find out who they are, what kind of approach might help them, what kind of a technique might get them to where they want to go, and we apply those. So generally, we have to be generalists. We have to determine what's going to help a person and then work with it. Now, I guarantee you, if you're with the counselor long enough, you're going to have some sort of a difference of opinion. The counselor is going to offend you, just like the lady who she didn't want me to point out her behavior flaw. She didn't like that. Sooner or later, something's going to happen, just like in real life with real relationships. It's going to cause a rift between the two of you. And the trick is at that point, not to quit, but to keep going. Because if you can work out that particular issue with your counselor, you're learning the technique that you can use with other people in your life. That's the whole point, is to talk about these things, learn new techniques, learn new ways to be in the world, become comfortable with it by practicing it, and then moving on and making those changes that are going to be more successful for you in the future. There are a lot of techniques folks can use, counselors can use, and we hope we pick the right one and apply it for your situation. If you have any more questions about this, please let me know, because I'm getting a lot of good feedback and comments and so forth from all of y'all. And if you do that and give me your ideas and your thoughts and your questions, and I have a better idea of what to speak about in these little videos. I try to keep it relevant to the people who are watching, try to keep relevant to their needs and their desires and their wants. So until next time, I will talk with you then.